Hello, and welcome to this week's character building episode. Today we're going to be discussing posing and performance. I noticed in looking around the web, you see a lot of references on how to pose your characters, but not quite so much on how to make them perform. And the two things really are related to each other, so I figured it would be worth making a video about. So first of all, I'd like to cover a few concepts really quickly, and then jump into a few examples. First of all, what do we need to generate a character performance? Well, it helps in most cases if the character in question is reacting or relating to something outside of himself, right? Characters don't typically act in a vacuum, Shakespearean monologues aside. So for our purposes today, we're going to draw something, an object, as a stand-in that's going to take the form of that thing to react to, and that's going to be this ball. What that does is it gives you a point in space for your character to be looking at while they're acting. If you're composing a larger piece, telling a story, the ball holds the spot where the characters and events are happening, that the character's responding to. And it helps you keep focused on keeping things consistently in place for your action to read right. So now that we have something to react to, how do we use that? Well, if we're working from a script, then we know what our characters are supposed to feel emotionally toward whatever this object is standing in for, right? It could be an explosion or a character or the environment for all intents and purposes. And if we know that, it's a short step from understanding what the emotion is to understanding what the body language it would take to make that visible. At the very least, we can say that we have shared humanity with our creations as characters. If we can imagine ourselves in their shoes, we can simply react through empathy. How would I react if I was in the situation? We can even, act it out ourselves if we have to. Even if the characters aren't technically human, they're still relating as human. So it covers pretty much all the bases on that. And then once we have the body language from that, then we can form our ideas on what the gesture of the pose should be. And during all the course of all this, we still have to keep track of things like silhouette, right? Because the silhouette's going to determine how it reads in a flat drawing sense, right? In a strictly, visual language mode. So having said all that, these are some of the examples I have lined up for today. We have irritated, curious, scared, and just for fun, drunk. You can see I've already taken the step to interpret these emotions into some general notes on how I would interpret what the translation into body language that would be, and from there, I think that's enough. That's enough to go on for now. So we'll take these, and then we're going to move on into actually doing these examples visually. So let's see what that looks like. So our first emotion that we're trying to perform here is irritation, right? And so I'm going to quickly move forward into the this pose here, which is again leaning forward, trying to be intimidating. I've already put the torso at somewhat even level to the ball, which means that his head is going to be looking down at it, right? Which again, the position of the head is important here because anything higher up in the frame is going to suggest a level of intimidation or superiority. Or at least that it's going to heighten that sense of intimidation. If you imagine when you're a kid, when your dad looks down from on high, right? You know that you're in trouble. And a similar thing in the movies, you kind of get that feeling all over again when you're being looked down at. When you sense that a character is having that attention focused on them from above. That sense of power that comes from that. And the pose is good, but it kind of reads a little bit more angry than I wanted it to. So I went ahead and did another pass here. And the good thing about this is you can do a lot of passes really quickly using this method because you're not committing a whole bunch of time to it. 30, 40, seconds at a pop. Not a heck of a lot of work to say, oh man, wish I hadn't invested all the time. Now I feel like it's wasted. No, it's, It's nothing. And if it helps you get to your to a better solution faster, then it's all worth it. So I am not impressed with what you just did, whatever it is. I am irritated with you. There you go. Sweeping up into the head. And that connection, right, between the that relationship and height, very important. Okay, next we have curiosity. Okay, this for this one again, we're going to close the distance, right? He's curious. He's not scared anymore. He's not curious. He's not scared. He's just really interested in whatever this thing is. And he's got that kind of eye level thing going on where he's really. I like to think of the the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where Indiana Jones is getting ready to pick up the idol, right? He's just closing in really tight on it. That was less curiosity, but it was certainly a heightened level of interest, which certainly curiosity does share. So I've swept into the back. He's leaning forward again, even more so than before, but not out of irritation so much, but just out of like, man, this is really cool. It's not a hostile, threatening pose, right? He's almost really getting down on the level of it, whatever it is. In the front, I have one leg there, pushed forward to support the weight. It's more directly underneath the body mass, while the other one is pushed further back, more in a support role there. So he's balancing himself with the back foot. Hands coming up, and the other one stretched out back. Again, profile and silhouette, very important. So if you can, commit to a pose that has a good silhouette. Yeah, it's like the icing on the cake. It's actually more than that. It's actually a critical component you want to try and include in all your poses, really. So that was curiosity. Now we're going to do fear or being scared, right? So whenever you're scared, you kind of collapse in on yourself, right? Everything goes back to the fetal position. And so that's most of the time it's going to be difficult to try and get a good silhouette on that, because you collapse in on yourself, your arms, your legs, or whatever, and it's going to start to, your arms are no longer, sticking out from your body anymore. They're kind of enveloped in that torso shape. At least when you look at it from a purely abstract perspective, right? And art is pretty much all different degrees of abstraction. Even the highly rendered stuff is still a flat illusion of a three-dimensional image, right? So I had a choice here. I could keep the arms down in front in that kind of cowering position, or I could actually have him more of a threatened position in terms of, so he feels threatened and scared at the same time. So maybe he has his arm up trying to protect himself, which is I think it's called an autonomic response. It's something we do without thinking about it when we feel threatened. I have the other hand curled under his body there. And here we go on to my favorite, drunk. Here we go. So now, instead of being afraid of him and making the distance between the object greater, we're going to close the distance between the object and our character. And now this ball is his best buddy now. It's his best bud, right? You're the best. This guy's had a few two Jägermeisters. He's actually going to lean on him for support because he's too drunk to even stand. You're my buddy. He's pointing to him with his other hand there. Now, I like the idea of pointing to him, like I say, you're my friend kind of thing. But at the same time, here's an opportunity for experimentation, because it's that arm as it is right now is kind of, again, fully inside the silhouette, and it doesn't read very as well as it would if there was some way I could push it a bit to make it clearer, right? And after I go through this one, I'll do another one where I show the difference, right? And then we can see exactly how much more it improves the silhouette. So there we go. And there we are. And there's our silhouette, right? That's how it reads. Our Curiosity fellow here. There we go. And there's, you see all four limbs. The head is clearly visible, and the pose tells you something about what's going on. The silhouette does, even just in black and white. You know, fear and being scared. And again, for some emotions, it's going to be just more natural for things to fall inside the silhouette. Anything that's introverted is going to have the tendency to do that. You just have to do the best you can and try and make it read as best as possible. And I think it fairly well does that because you're still getting the overall curve away that he's seeing. Yeah, he's trying. You get that reaction of away. Yeah, I'm turning. Someone who's turned away. And in a very general, broad sense. And here we're going through our drunk fellow here. And it's at this point I realize, I think somewhere along the line here, that yeah, I want to go do another pass at this, at least for the hand. The right arm in particular, because it's too enveloped, and this is not a pose that needs to have that arm in there. Unlike something like it's not sadness or introversion, right? So here's the point where I'm going back and saying, what can I do to improve the silhouette here, because it just wasn't kind of where I wanted it to be, right? So again, going back and sweeping through, seeing where can I take that other hand, that other arm. No, not that direction. There we go. This guy right here. And even more so, this is good because it creates almost like a visual arrow, another one that points to the object of what the character's relationship to the ball is, right? Because his arm is almost saying anything that points to an area of focus is going to really help direct your scene and communicate what you want it to. So there we go, just cleaning up the previous lines there. The only thing I really wanted to change was that one arm. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please like, share, and spread the word. Thank you very much. See you next week. If you like this video and want to see more, click subscribe. Want to tell me what to draw? You can. Click on the link to my Patreon page.